You hear the piano initially, and the pads in the background. Listen to the pads. Becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And now they're becoming smaller, tinier and tinier. So they withdraw. How did I just fade that pad in and open the filter without taking my hands off the keys? If you've been following this channel, you've seen me doing this previously by adjusting the wheel in the past to achieve the same outcome. This time, it's pedal routing. If you play live, you already know the problem. You build a nice sound for the verse, then the chorus comes in, and suddenly you are grabbing faders, reaching for buttons and hoping nothing falls apart. Today I want to show you a much better way to work on the Nord Stage 4. We're going to use Layer Scene 2, pedal assignments and Wheel Morph, so your transitions feel smooth, musical and hands-free. And by the end of this video, I'll show you one setup that lets you move from one soft verse to a big chorus with your feet doing the work, not your hands. This is the goal: no panic, no panel grabbing, no messy transition. Now let's break down how to build it. First, Layer Scene 2. This is one of the most useful live features on the Stage 4, but it confuses people because it looks like it should behave like a second complete version of the whole program. It does not. The clean way to think about Layer Scene 2 is this. Inside one program, you get two different layers, on-off configuration. Scene 1 can have one set of layers active, and Scene 2 can have a different set of layers active. So you are not loading a new program, and you are not waiting for a sound to change. You are staying inside the same program and switching which layers are active. Here is the important part. Layer Scene 2 stores the on and off state of each layer. It does not store completely different sounds or completely different effects or completely different fader positions for the same layer. No. The sounds and settings inside the layers are shared. So if piano layer A is white grand, that same layer is still white grand in both scenes. If you change the sound or the effects on that layer, that change belongs to the whole entire program, not just one scene. This is why some people get caught out. They expect Scene 1 to remember one version of a layer and Scene 2 to remember a different version of the same layer. But the main thing Scene 2 remember is whether that layer is on or off. Once you understand that, the feature becomes much easier to use. The setup is simple. When the Layer Scene 2 button is not lit, you are working in Scene 1. You choose which layer you want on for your first setup. Then you press the Layer Scene 2 button so the light comes on, and now you choose which layers you want on for your second setup. After that, pressing the button lets you move back and forth between the two scenes. And when you save the program, those scenes choices are also saved with it. So if you want a soft verse and a bigger chorus, do not try to make the same layer behave like two different layers. That might sound annoying, but there is a clean workaround. Use parallel layers. What do I mean by that? You set up piano layer A with your grand sample, in my case let's say Royal Grand 3D, set faders at about 4, then set up piano layer B with the exact same grand or a different sample if you want a different sound, But the point is to set the faders at 7 or 8, so you have it at a different level. In scene 1, piano A is on and piano B is off. In scene 2, piano A is off and piano B is on. So that gives you a proper volume jump without touching the panel at all. So that's one of the use cases. And because the sound is the same piano, if you use the same sample on both layers, it feels natural live. Since Nord Stage 4 keyboard is a great balance between both piano and organ players, I configured scene 2 to bring the organ layer. So now, just switching between scene 1 and 2, I'm switching between the piano and pads in scene 1 and organ in scene 2. And how I do that without pressing the layer scene 2 button, I have a switch, a foot switch pedal, which I've connected to the Nord, and then I just press that one, and as you can see now the layer scene 2 switches to organ and everything switches off in terms of the piano. So I'm pressing the pedal one more time, everything is back to the piano and the synth. Pressing one more time, everything is back to the organ. I'll demonstrate what that looks like in a live setting. If you like this video, you will also like what we do at PIANORD Lab. Link in the video description. Later on, you'll get a glimpse of the depth we go to within the PIANORD Lab community. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, I'll share even more about the PIANORD Lab and what you get, but also you'll get a relevant resource to download today on this video with us. Let me demonstrate to you the switching between layer 1 and layer 2. As you can see now, I'm on layer 1. Switching with one foot to the organ. Back to piano on pads. This is the first thing I want you to hear. We're not using technology just because it's clever. We're using it because in a real service or gig, you do not want to redesign your sound in the middle of the song. You want one move, and you want that move to work every single time. Now let's set up the pedal side. If you plug on an expression pedal into the organ swell jack, the default behavior is swell style control. But for this setup, we want something much more useful. We want that pedal to drive the Wheel Morph engine. So one foot movement can control multiple things at once. How do you do that? You open the pedal menu, find the Swell Pedal type page, change it from Swell to Wheel Morph, and now your pedal should sweep properly, as if you were adjusting the wheel itself. Do not overthink this part. You are just telling the board that the physical pedal should now behave like the modulation wheel. This is the key idea. Once you do that, anything you assign to the Wheel Morph can move under your foot. Now let's build one musical morph, not 10 random ones. For YouTube, I want to keep this useful and realistic, and so we are going to use one simple build. We will fade in a pad, open the filter slightly, and increase the delay or ambience enough to feel the lift. Not too much, just enough that it feels like the song is opening up. We will choose a synth pad, nothing too bright, set the Syn Layer A volume at 0 in the hill down, set the filter slightly dark, set the delay mix modest, not washed out. And while we still hold the Wheel Morph button, we raise the Synth Layer A fader to around 5 or 6. Then we open the filter to a brighter but still warm position, and we increase the delay mix slightly. That's how I configured what you've heard earlier. This is the second thing I want you to notice. The pedal is not there to show off a feature. It is there to give you a proper build without taking your right hand off the keys. For worship players that matters, and sometimes it matters a lot. For gigging players it matters just as much, because the moment your hands lift the keyboard to chase the panel, the transition stops feeling musical. You want to maintain the flow in worship settings. Now we need the final piece, a foot trigger for the Syn 2. If you have the Nord triple pedal 2, you can assign the left pedal to Layer Syn 2 toggle. If you do not have that pedal, use a regular foot switch and assign the same function there. I have a regular foot switch. Before we move further, let me touch upon some of the Nord Stage 4 benefits. A key update in Nord OS version 1.60 is the modification of the global reverb signal path. When reverb is set to global, the processing block is positioned last in the physical signal chain, occurring after both the rotary speaker and the individual layer faders. This update has a major practical benefit for live players. Changing a layer's volume fader manually or through a pedal morph no longer truncates its reverb tail. This post-fader routing allows ambient washes to decay naturally and maintaining a continuous acoustic space even during sudden transitions. Additionally, the introduction of the hold to shift feature in recent firmware updates simplifies live panel adjustments. That means you as a pianist can activate secondary shift functions of a button simply by holding it down instead of using the shift and that button. So this reduces the need for two-handed button combinations, keeping the focus on playing. The Nord Stage 4 latest firmware versions brings that focus on the live settings to make the pianist life easier. So find the pedal menu, you look at the left pedal assignment or foot switch assignment, you choose Layer Syn 2 toggle. In my case, I've chosen the option toggle Layer Syn 2, but You can also configure it to switch up to the next program if you want it. That's not what I demonstrated during this video, and it's not what I'm using it for. But that gives you a proper two-stage performance workflow. One foot controls the build, one foot controls the section change. And your hands stay where they belong, playing. Let me show you the full thing in one pass. I'm going to keep the harmony simple so you can hear the system clearly. You hear the piano initially, and the pads in the background. Listen to the pads. Becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And now they're becoming smaller, tinier and tinier. So they withdraw. This is the system. Soft first, foot-led build. One tap to chorus, then back down cleanly. And the reason I like this setup is because it feels dependable. It is not flashy, it is practical. And that is what most players actually need. So the three takeaways are simple. Layer Synth 2 is great, but for volume changes, use parallel layers. Wheel Morph through the Swell Pedal gives you a smooth build without touching the panel. And the foot switch or triple pedal assignment lets you jump sections cleanly under pressure. To make this easier, I put together a free PDF called 5 Essential Foot Pedal Routings. It lays out this setup clearly, plus 4 other routings that are actually useful live. If you want it, the link is in the description below. And when you grab it, you'll also see how to get into PIANORD lab, where I keep the deeper templates, the ready-to-load performance setups, and the more advanced workflow lessons. If this helped, tell me in the comments what you want next. Layer scenes, pedal assignments, or building a full Sunday ready template from scratch. Earlier in the video, I promised that I'll give you a glimpse of what you get if you join PIANORD Lab, if you stick with us until the end. So let me just do that. There are multiple transition methodologies in live environments. One is Layer Synth 2 toggle, whose implementation is a binary state switching of layers via either panel button or foot switches. That's what you've seen today, and I use the foot switches for that. Ideal use case is transitions between structured song section. Swell Pedal Morph, whose implementation is continuous multi-parameter scaling via physical expression pedals. In our case, I've used Yamaha FC7. However, Roland EV5 and Boss FV500H are also great for this function. You use mode Wheel Morph targets, including synth filter cutoffs, FM parameters, and effect levels. We use this today as well. Then you could also use a drone pad key mapping, which consists of assigning a continuous background pad to the highest octave of the keyboard. And main use case is transitioning between different songs in a set or supporting prayer moments while gives you a hands-free natural crossfading. There is also software hybrid integration. This method involves routing MIDI out to a software like MainStage and gives you access to unlimited effects. It does require a laptop, audio interface also, and stable MIDI cabling. However, it gives you access to more samples and external effects as well. Then from here, we go into advanced pedal configuration and continuous control routing. This is your mastering Node Stage 4 Layer Synth 2 and continuous pedal morph for the modern worship keyboardist. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Let me play you out.